This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube, coming at you with my weekly review of the points I find interesting in Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter. But first, a few people have sent me this picture here. Apparently, I'm on some sort of celebrity list. Apparently, I've been in jail for 15 years. How that's possible, I don't know. I guess I should be honored to be named with some of these guys, but that's just a joke. I did spend 3.5 weeks in jail being falsely accused in two terrible Canadian jails, 3 to a cell, and the person that falsely accused me ended up being found guilty of attacking me, and I was fully released of my charges that were completely false. The person that made those charges was found guilty of 3 things and has a criminal record. So I don't want to digress into that, but just to tell you guys, I have a clean criminal record. In WWE news, apparently Devon Dudley recently implied that there may have been some racism in his dealings with. He insinuated Jim Ross in WWE. This is the first I've ever heard of. Of course, Jim Ross was affiliated with Bill Watts, who many have accused of being a racist. But this is the first time I've actually heard anyone accuse Jim Ross of that. Jim Ross, who's on Easy Street these days, collecting one of those big AEW contracts. Money in the Bank is going to be from New Orleans, September 6, 2026. I guess that's their constellation prize for losing WrestleMania to Las Vegas, where it was going to be in New Orleans, but apparently they got more money from Las Vegas, so they ditched New Orleans, which is kind of a asshole thing to do, but TKO is all about money. Apparently, I was looking at the pre-sales for upcoming tapings. Other than the ones at like major arenas like Madison Square Garden or ones that John Cena's at, like the pre-sales are at like 3 to 5 thousand. At one point, they were all over 10,000 for, and I'm talking WWE, not AEW. WWE is getting cold, and I'm just saying they're hitting record lows in ratings too. But this is with John Cena still having like 3 or 4 more dates. What are they going to do? I mean, I would say that the Cena run has been lackluster, and it almost has been too long. It's almost been like, oh, when is this thing going to be over? We've seen enough of it. It hasn't been very entertaining. The most entertaining thing, they didn't follow through with it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because they're losing Cena, and we're already seeing much lower crowds on the shows. He's, for better or worse, he has been drawing for the in-person shows that he's been at. Apparently, even in Japan, they were in Japan for the first time in a while, either last week or the week before. They did 2 nights in a row featuring Nakamura, who Sid absolutely hated, and I don't see anything entertaining about him. They did 6,000 the first night, 4,000 the second night. Nakamura went over Braun Breaker one of those nights. What is the point? It's not like he's even drawing. I guess that was at Sumo Hall that can fit about 10,000. It's like, to me, that's pretty bad. And that was AJ Styles last time wrestling in Japan too. Who, by the way, I did pin him 2 times in one night when he was back in New Japan as IWGP champion. Yeah, Salt Lake City, WWE is doing a Saturday night main event there, the next one. And I do think they'll have a good crowd for that. Cena, I believe, is on it. But again, that's a bigger show. It'll be more around the 10,000 range, but that will not be on NBC. It will only be on Peacock. They got canceled on NBC after the Goldberg versus Gunther rating bombed. Jasmine Nix, who is the former soccer player turned developmental wrestler, I didn't hear anything about her prior to her release, where she's done nothing but complain. She was only offered $80,000 per year to re-sign, and she's upset because she had to turn down a spot on Love Island while she was under contract. Whatever the hell Love Island is, I'm going to guess some type of reality show. But let's face the facts here. NXT, they also hit bad ratings this week. They don't do much there. They only do shows here and there. They are starting to do more house shows. But what is this woman doing to deserve more than 80,000 per year, honestly? Get yourself over to where you're worth more than that. But she came in. That's a problem when you hire soccer players that never would have been wrestlers otherwise. They just don't. They'd rather be on Love Island. So good riddance to her is all I can say. She's good looking, but good looking girls in wrestling are a dime a dozen. Real American Wrestling last night was at a 15,000 seat arena. They had 2,000 fans and it was papered heavily. They're trying to use Nick Hogan as like the Hulk Hogan representative. I just don't like Nick Hogan. For some reason, he's like the spoiled rich kid that has done nothing. The only thing we've heard about Nick Hogan is like paralyzing his friend and DUIs and stuff. And now because Hulk Hogan's died, we're all supposed to cheer for Nick Hogan whenever he appears because he's the male son of Hulk Hogan. I'm just not gonna get on that bandwagon. WWE LFG is doing numbers only around 100K viewers, which is bad, but apparently it's cheap to produce. And whatever station it's on is looking for cheap content, so it's still going on. At TNA's live numbers have been up, but you guys have to remember, yes, the Scott D'Amore TNA product was horrible, but now they're affiliated with WWE. They're getting a lot more publicity, but also keep in mind there's no more WWE house shows overall. WWE is going to far less places. So, for instance, TNA went to Edmonton a few weeks ago. Edmonton, actually, none of Alberta got WWE this year. So, the closest thing to WWE you're going to get is TNA, which they drew well the first night. The second night, they didn't draw as well. That's the thing I don't like about TNA. They go in the same arena night after night. I think if they'd done Edmonton and Calgary, they would have been better. But for them constantly bragging now that their numbers are better, yeah, they should brag about that. But it also has to do with it's the closest thing to WWE that these towns like Edmonton are going to get this year. So, of course, more people are going to come. There's less events going on right now than ever for WWE. And I was listening to the Wrestling Observer Radio today. Dave Meltzer was bringing up the top of the card right now is very weak. Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns are on limited dates, and Reigns has been jobbing lately. And I know Roman Reigns has his fans out there, but you can't tell me Roman Reigns is anywhere as over as he was 2 years ago. If he's on a show, yeah, people are going to cheer him and stuff, but he doesn't have the buzz that he used to have. Like, I don't think there's a big buzz around Roman Reigns right now. In AEW news, their Wrestle Dream show, October 18th from St. Louis, had about 6,000 fans in attendance, including comps. It was 5.5 hours. The building it was in holds over 10,000. It's strange that AEW is going for these really long pay-per-views, 5, 6, 8 hours. They even had an 8-hour pay-per-view recently, where WWE is sticking with the 5-match pay-per-view. So even though WWE, they got Raw and SmackDown, so 5 hours of TV a week. plus Saturday Night Main Event, they only think that merits 5-match pay-per-views. And I'm truly thinking that's a cost-saving thing, because I don't think AEW is making a big profit. I heard the Wrestle Dream um, attendance was like a $400,000 gate. That does not pay anything close to what their wrestlers make. I know they got multiple sources of income, but recently it came out that Mercedes Moné is asking for $25,000 per match on the indies. That sounds like a lot, but I looked it up. She supposedly makes $4 million a year. In 2024, Mercedes Moné had 15 AEW matches. That is an average of 154,000 a match. Okay, and there's people that they don't even bring to the shows, like Chris Jericho, that are getting paid. Apparently, Chris Jericho might get an offer he can't refuse and end up staying in AEW. Which, if it's gonna be to me, honestly, if he stays in AEW, it's not gonna make much. It'll be a coup for Tony Khan that he can have his retirement tour in AEW, but I honestly don't think there's going to be much buzz about it, because AEW, they did a 0.07 rating for Dynamite, their flagship show this week. They're doing terrible. With WWE, they might not pay him as much, but it would be fresh, and they're losing John Cena, as I just mentioned. So he's not as good a replacement as Cena, because he's not as famous overall as Cena, but it would be something. I think it would be more interesting if he went to WWE, but it depends if he goes for, okay, I'm going to just take as much money as I can get, or I'm going to go for what's going to be the most entertaining. Edge, it looks like, is staying in AEW. Britt Baker, here's the weird thing about Britt Baker. Tony Khan keeps talking about her, saying how much he loves her, but she's under contract and he's not using her on TV. He hasn't used her for almost a year. How can you say, oh, I love Britt Baker, she's still a big part of AEW? I just don't use her. That's insulting. And I'm not even a Britt Baker fan, but I mean, good for her. She's making the money. But that's insulting. Oh, and going back to Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné again. If she is making 25 grand a match on the indies, Meltzer brought up that he doesn't think anyone makes 25 grand in CMLL, so maybe there's a special deal for CMLL. And maybe Tony Khan's even covering some of it, since Tony Khan has a strong affiliation for whatever. I don't think the Mexican affiliation helps anywhere but Mexico, because overall, yeah, there are some Mexican wrestling fans, but overall, most straight Americans don't care about Mexican wrestling, and Canadians really don't care about it. Very few Canadians do. So I don't know how much these Mexican company affiliations help them in Canada and the US. We know from WWE's side, they only came to Canada like 4 or 5 times this year. So they don't even care about Canada. AEW only came twice. They care more about Mexico than Canada, even though they have so many Canadians on their roster too. They didn't even go to Winnipeg this year. The closest thing to WWE or AEW in Winnipeg this year was Mercedes Moné wrestling in Winnipeg last week, where I understand there was about 1,000 fans. Did that 1,000 fans cover the 25,000 American? Because 25,000 American is 35,000 Canadian, plus the arena rental, which they were in a theater, the travel, everyone else on the card, the ring setup, the DJ. I don't know. But the interesting thing is, other than CMLL, is she actually going to go back and defend any of these titles in any of these places? Are we, for all of these titles that she has? And again, this is the picture from Canada. They were on a stage, but these are all of her titles. But whoever heard of this company before Mercedes Moné wrestled there? What value does this title have of this it's Manitoba. What do you have in Manitoba? You got Winnipeg and a bunch of small towns. The second biggest town is Brandon. But, like, how do you have a world title for a Winnipeg company? But, if you're never gonna defend any of these titles other than CMLL, it looks good, she's getting herself over, but here's the question, because they have John Moxley doing indies too. Would these wrestlers like Moxley or Banks, Mercedes Monet, would they be more over if they were just wrestling more in AEW and had better angles in AEW? Or is this thing of having them wrestle on indies really better than just having them wrestle more often for AEW because they're not on every AEW show? Apparently, Tom Billington's nephew, Thomas Billington, he wrestled on a show that Bret Hart put on in Calgary, which was the biggest show in Calgary of the year. Bret Hart brought in Jinder Mahal, and the Dynamite Kid's nephew was on it. It had 450 fans apparently. Well, that's what Bret Hart is drawing in Calgary these days. Which is maybe wrestling's not that big in Calgary anymore. But they even have the Dynamite Kid's nephew who's under AEW contract wrestling indies. So why they even signed him, I don't know, because they've hardly used him either. Billy Gunn denies that it's his. Some people have said Billy Gunn has back issues, and that's why he hasn't wrestled since May. He put out a video literally dancing and doing like a grind, saying my back issues are fine. It's creative. He's been doing independent shows too. Because you know what? They've got all these Mexican wrestlers no one ever heard of on Dynamite instead of Bill. Hey, you know what's funny? Here's a legit question. They brought Andrade in after WWE illegally and used Andrade on Dynamite. That got like a 0.06 rating, which I think was the lowest rating ever for Dynamite. 0.06. Was that is Andrade? Do more people want to see him than Billy Gunn if they're flipping through the channels? Are they going to stop for Andrade, or are they going to be like, oh, I know Billy Gunn, but no, let's just keep Billy Gunn sitting at home and pay him to do nothing. It's bizarre. I'm happy for Billy Gunn, but it's bizarre. One company that is doing good for live attendance is UFC. October 18th in Vancouver, almost 18,000 fans. Billy Gunn, yeah, he's on Mike O'Hearn's workout videos all the time. Red Rock Wrestling and PEI draws well, yeah. Mike Hughes runs that, one of my friends, but WWE hasn't come to PEI since the 90s, right? So that's a wide open territory. So it'll be interesting as WWE and AEW stop coming to all these towns. Will independent towns pop up, or will wrestling just fade away? Because I know the last couple times I promoted, when I was going around to towns putting up posters, people are like, "Really? People still do wrestling? I watch this on TV and I see it on the internet. Is that the thing where people grab each other's, you know what?" Referring to like the Joey Ryan videos and stuff. Like people, I don't think there's like that big a demand to watch wrestling these days. It could be built up and some territories could happen again, but like I don't think there's a huge demand for it as there used to be. And because it's not that entertaining on TV, um I don't know. I don't know if you could draw well on the indies. Yeah, Paul, the draft is really just a TV show. Frank, yeah, some of these, that's the thing about the 25 grand a match. Are they going to bring these people back? Because if you don't make money and you lose your shirt, can you afford to bring them back and do it again? So is she actually going to return? I mean, this is a lot of titles to defend. So far, I think she's only defended the CMLL one. So, is this just I'm going to come to your company, win the titles, and then mail it back to you because you can't afford to pay me back? Maniac, Matt Bourne, Tiller, Kim Brooks, Harley Race. Yeah, those were all good wrestlers. Thanks for bringing up Piper. She's a great dog. Ivan Santos. Yeah, wrestling is different these days. There are some tough wrestlers, but it's more of a choreographed show. It's more of just a choreographed performance. There's not much grit to it. And I mean, I just saw a few days ago, and I can share it with you. I'll actually share the page with you. It's just gone so corporate. Let me see here. I thought it was they showed the new class, the new NXT class. They just looked like I don't know. I'll show it on the next update, but it was like the class of new NXT recruits. And it's just like, okay, here's some more cookie cutter wrestlers that are just college athletes with no wrestling experience. So whatever. I don't mean to complain. The behind the scenes is still interesting, but I'm more interested in the UFO stuff these days and the 3-Eye Atlas, which Avi Loeb just did an interview with Joe Rogan that's going to come out probably tomorrow. So I'm more interested in watching that than any of the current products. But the behind the scene news is interesting, like independent promoter marks that are paying Sasha Banks $25,000 a match, which is 35 grand Canadian, to come in just to try and give their company some relevance. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if it works. Anyways, have a great weekend. I'm going off to the gym.